Hello, Sri Swami Svatmananda. Svatmananda.
Yeah, you're getting there. You're getting there.
Well, my name is also very difficult, but
Yeah,
anywho,
you're getting there. People call Swamiji. That's easier.
what is
Swamiji.
Swami G?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
Swami
what.
G. I
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
easy. You just roll.
All right,
But yeah,
Swami G dog. That's what it's.
yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, today we are going to talk about your information that you have on Christopher Columbus. I've had a lot of blog members interested in interviewing him, and we did through a medium. So, but you have a lot to share.
Yeah.
Some of it quite gruesome, but yeah, go ahead.
No. So the thing why it became a topic of interest was because Christopher Columbus decided he was trying to get to India. Okay. And to me, it's such an irony that here in America, in this century, in the most advanced stage, and at the same advanced time, or at least what we consider to be the most advanced time, and we also claim to be the most developed country. We claim to be the wisest country and all that. And we're still
Who?
celebrating
America?
Christopher Columbus Day.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You're talking about America, not India, because I think India is
No,
probably.
America.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I know.
You know, and with all the discoveries we have, the scientific advancement and things like that, information on our fingertips, and if you just Google information about Christopher Columbus, you see that this guy was literally a monster
Yeah.
who got lost. I mean, to begin with, he was trying to get to India, which is why it piqued up my interest, because I've been studying, Indian history and Indian thought and culture. And at that time, India was so advanced. It was like, the caravan or the South Americans trying to come to America. And it was similar in those days where, civilizations, if they could afford it, they would make their way to India because of the technology, the advancements that people were aware of, clothing, food, spices, and pretty much even in medicine. So you find that the advancements in India was so predominant around the world.
That's interesting because the medium said that one of the things he was in search of is medicine, bring back new forms of, or new, I don't know, actually medication, but
Right.
just everything.
Or even the system of medicine. So you find that everybody, like if you study history, throughout history, European history, or even if you look at Chinese history, everyone gravitated towards India for health, food, clothing, and even other forms of technologies, and also spiritual advancements.
Because why were they so advanced? I don't understand.
Okay, so this is because of the information that was revealed in the Vedas. That we talked about it before, and that a lot of these information was channeled. And so, because the Indians had a language which was Sanskrit, which allowed for these complex theories, complex information to be stored and understood and transmitted, so they were able to preserve it, which is why it was available. And the culture, the whole Indian culture, was based on this information. So, and there's incredible technologies and discoveries and lifestyle that was based on these teachings and revelations. So, it became it became known worldwide that this is the place to go for this information. So there was. Actually, in the 1400s, a great effort by European nations to make it to India. I mean, they would travel by road or by land from Middle East via the Khyber Pass and so on together. So the olden traders would have this information, but then they figured they could do it by boat because it's easier. Then cross the Khyber Pass and then and so on, and also bringing, because you would have boats, you'd be able to carry more stuff. And so Christopher Columbus was actually Italian from Genoa,
Mm-hmm.
And somehow he managed to get to Spain and convince the king, the monarchy there, that he can actually sail to India. And there was a competition. It's kind of like the competition we have today, like going to the moon. It's
right.
Like competing
Space
with
race.
the Russians, Yeah. So they had a race then to compete to go to India and see who could bring the most gold, food, and medicine, and silk. Mm-hmm. Silk was a big, clothing was a big thing, spices was a big thing. And so this guy decided to come westward instead of going east, which is what other like Vasco da Gama and other discoverers did. And then he comes across the first land, and he looks at brown people and says, "Oh my God, these are the Indians." Yeah. So it is pretty much like, we go to somebody comes here and looks at Americans and say, "Oh my God, look at these people, they are Aborigines."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he looks at brown people here, but then the wealth that he expected in America was not there. Yeah. People lived very honorably, and they lived with nature. They were in harmony with nature. They had a culture which was pretty much in tune or in line with the understanding of that oneness with Earth. Mm. Okay, and so they didn't need wealth. They didn't need material world.
Did he really think he was in India?
No. He thought initially he was in India.
Yeah, but then
when he realized that this was not India, because what he expected in India,
the wealth,
wealth, gold, and this and that, was not there. But then now the question is, he made an investment and said that he's coming here, and because of his greed, what does he take back? Accidentally, he found the natives, because basically, it's really funny. He did not even step foot in America. I mean, where he went was the Caribbean islands.
Yeah.
And that's 1,500 miles away from DC. So he gets to the Caribbean, and he meets this tribe called the Taino tribe.
Oh yeah, the Taino, sure.
Yeah. And they were the gentlest, the kindest people. And every culture that's connected with Earth, they know that when you have a guest, that's also a feeling that you have to honor that guest. Like, for instance, till today, if you go to India, you go to anyone's house, a guest is revered as God.
Oh, wow.
And so any guest that goes into anyone's home is a blessing. And so you treat that person with the best. You give them the best food, you give them the best clothing, the best chair, the best bed, if they're going to stay overnight.
Why is that?
Because when we are all one, when somebody comes to your house, it's an indication that is God.
Yeah, because everybody's whole and part of God.
Yeah, and so when somebody comes, that is a blessing. Because what happens is it gives you the opportunity to give. Yeah. And when you can give for someone else's comfort who comes into your home, it brings in great blessings to your house and to your family.
Okay.
Yeah. And this works till today. I mean, even today they have a statement. Every family in India knows this. There's something in Sanskrit, they say Atithi Devo Bhava, which simply means that when a guest comes to your house, you treat them like God, because they are an omen of the divine.
Oh.
And because we're all divine, that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
And so, and because the divinity showed up in the form of a human being, you also have an opportunity presented to you as a gift to give.
Wow, that's nice. I think a lot of that is in our Southern U.S. culture. Correct. Too. Southern hospitality.
Right, but if you look at this, from the Indian perspective, but if you look at ancient traditions, all ancient traditions that were connected to the universe, to Mother Earth, through nature, like the Native Americans and the Aborigines, and even some of these ancient tribes. What they would do is, when a guest came, they would give the best. you'd go sit with the chief, or you'd go sit with the king or the queen, and you'd get the best because you're a guest and you're honored. Unless you come in there with a threat, then it's a different story.
Okay.
So anyway, the Taínos were the gentlest people. And so when Columbus came in, they thought, oh, here's a guest, let's treat him well. I mean, he's weird and all that with this magical ships. But then he realized that there wasn't the wealth that he was looking for. And these people were, according to him, primitive, although they lived spiritually.
Yes.
And what he discovered is that there was gold. Now, the question is, how does he go back to Spain with no wealth, with no medicine, with no clothes, no silk, and no spices? And he recognized that there was this gold. And so what he started doing is demanding gold from the people.
I didn't know there was gold in the Caribbean.
No, they got it from South America.
Oh, I see. So the Taíno, with
right.
How did they do that? With ships? I mean, boats?
Boats, yeah. There's a lot of trade.
Okay.
There's a lot of trade. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of trade, and there's a lot of gold. Gold was something that you could find in the Aztecs, in the Mayan. If you look at some of the artifacts of the Mayans and the Aztecs, there was a huge, those civilizations were highly developed. And they came with, actually, even to today, if you go to any of the museums around the world, you will see artifacts, golden made out of gold, from even, thousands of years back. But this was sort of like a currency.
Yeah.
And it was more ornamental. Sometimes it was used as deity for worship. But so he recognized that was gold. So one of the things he started doing is he started torturing these people unless they start giving the gold back, because he needed to go back with gold. Otherwise, he won't be recognized by the queen at that time.
Right.
And so what he would do is that he would pretty much, he would tax people in terms of gold. And basically, if they didn't bring gold, he would chop off their hands, and publicly he would chop off people's ears and take out their body parts in public.
Oh, God.
And if they didn't bring in gold, they would basically have their hands chopped off, legs barred. It was basically like they show up with gold in order to live.
Oh my God! Why did they let him do? Why didn't the natives get together and overcome this?
They didn't have armies because they didn't have a need for armies.
Right.
And they were not a culture that attacked or invaded, because they lived with nature. They were in harmony.
So they didn't have any weapon at all, no spears.
No, they had no weapons. And what they did in order to actually solve crises like conflict, because every culture has conflict, they had an ethical way to resolve conflict, and one of it was through a game. So whoever won or lost,
yes,
that's how the decision would fall through.
That's like in South American,
exactly,
the Aztecs.
Yeah. So that was part of the culture, is you play a game so that you don't hurt other people.
Well, didn't they need like spears to go spear fishing, or obviously to hunt?
Yeah, you had those, but then he had cannons.
Oh God! Okay, that's not good. Okay.
So he had cannons, and then they also, because they lived spiritually, they couldn't understand this kind of barbarism, because it was so barbaric in their mind that they could not even imagine. Because if for the Taínos, to hurt somebody else was a greater crime. Yeah. And at that time, there was I think there was an estimate, which I've read, it's about 8 million people. Now, this guy killed most of them. I mean, they lost about 90% of the tribe during his time.
Oh my God, awful genocide.
Exactly. He was a genocide conqueror. And this guy is someone that we celebrate in America, which is very interesting. Christopher Columbus and his crew actually documented the tortures they did. And his form of torture was actually used by the colonizers in Europe later on. For instance, we had the 600 years of the Inquisition, and some of the Spanish Inquisition, they actually got ideas from him. And you find that some of his techniques of killing and torturing people was used in medieval Europe for the longest time, because it was successful.
Yeah. I don't understand why we celebrate him. I mean, Haven't some places, changed his day for Martin Luther King Day instead in schools? I don't know if they get off for Columbus Day, but I know Eric's funeral was on Columbus Day and they got off.
Well, what happened is, I mean, to me, this was such an amazing thing because in my view, Christopher Columbus did so much harm to the society out here in West America, in Americas, actually in the Caribbean and South America more so, because he never set foot in North America. So we don't understand. I mean, I don't understand when people say that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Not only that, he killed more people than Hitler did combined.
Oh, God. So we are celebrating a serial killer genocidal monster. That
exactly,
is crazy.
Exactly. And the funny thing is that because of what he did, the Spaniards, the Italians, they don't celebrate him. They disowned him, in fact.
Oh, good.
Like, for instance, if you go to Spain today, you'll never hear his name. I mean, you'll hear something, If you go to, you go to certain places, he was there because he's a historical figure. And he became more and more of a historical figure after the U.S. started recognizing him and celebrating him. And this whole thing started with a guy who, I think his name was William Irving, I think, who kind of wrote, he sort of wrote a fictionalized version of Christopher Columbus' bio. So he just made it up.
Oh, so that's not really a bio, is it?
No. And then basically there was one guy, the first time Christopher Columbus was celebrated, that was in Colorado. Mm-hmm. So what happens is there was an Italian guy who was a proud Italian guy, and he said, oh, well, this guy is from my native town, and so why don't we celebrate him? So basically the first time here in the Americas that we started celebrating him was in Colorado. Interesting. Then FDR came in later on, and he actually turned it into a federal holiday because he needed the Italian vote.
Oh my God. Oh, so, by the way, 2 mediums told me independently that he was actually born in Spain, but raised in Genoa.
Right.
Raised in Italy. I did not know
that. Yeah. So, and I think I visited his house in Spain.
Oh, wow.
A few years ago. It's sort of nondescript because nobody cares about him because everyone recognized from his own writings the crimes against humanity. I mean, this guy is worse than any modern person we can think of in terms of... And
he came back and admitted it to Queen Isabella, too.
Right. But you also find it documented. It's not that this is a made-up story. All the tortures he did is documented.
Did he also bring disease? I can't remember.
Right. So what happened was basically, I mean, if you look at the things he did when he came out here to the Caribbean islands, he came in with these rough men who had been on the boat for months. Then, and many of these guys had diseases. So he comes on the islands, and these people who lived in harmony with nature, they had their way of lifestyle, and they had a sense of culture. And basically, they started raping 9 or 10-year girls, and then he would use them like they would pass these women to each other. There's another document you find. And by the way, all this stuff is available on internet. It's not that I'm making this up.
No, of course not.
And the guys talk about.
No one can make up this stuff. No one.
I know. Yeah. So you see that they would take and rape and murder these young girls, and then pass on to other people, and then that's how diseases started spreading because the natives' immune system did not support the viruses that came from the ships.
Oh, gosh.
And when you're in a ship in those days, after a month or months being together, in that contained environment with no water, so the health deteriorates significantly. Yeah. So of course they were sick,
Yeah.
But basically, he, I would say, is responsible for killing more than 8 million people just from this Taino tribe.
Now, how much of it was from disease instead of actual, murdering people himself or his men, having his men murdered?
So I don't know the exact figures, but they talk about it in terms of time. That if you look at some of the documents that are put out, there wasn't a real census to say that he exactly was responsible for killing 8 million people, but it was he and his crew.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and so that's basically.
So he delegated. Yeah.
Delegated, right? It was the whole culture of wiping out, annihilating this entire tribe.
How could they see that as something that would benefit them? I don't understand. I mean, did they want slaves to bring them gold?
All they needed to do was to actually take gold back.
Yeah.
He needed to show that he has found wealth. He needed to prove, because of his ego, that he actually arrived in India. Mm-hmm. And he came in with, I think, a few ships. And then later on, he came in with, on his second trip, he came with 17 ships with like 2,000 military people.
Oh, God.
And that's how he started wiping out. The first time he didn't do as much damage. That's the second trip that created a lot of damage.
Why, though? What was the purpose
of
money,
killing? For gold.
Well, couldn't they have gotten the money, the gold without killing people? Because then you have less people to go and get the gold. It doesn't make any sense.
I have no idea.
Maybe he was just a psychopath,
He was a psychopath.
Maybe he was like a serial killer kind of guy.
He was a psychopath because it's not only that the natives suffered, it was also the Spaniards who had come under him, and he was really, really sort of ruthless with even the Spaniards. So this guy was like a mass murderer that used crude weapons. And we today, the thing that's baffling is that we today in America celebrate him when the guy never even stepped foot in America.
Hey, we need to change things. We need yeah, that's awful. We need to start a movement to take him off the holiday schedule. I mean,
exactly.
God, of course,
why don't we celebrate the local?
Yeah, we have a national aardvark day here.
Exactly. So. And why don't we celebrate the local tribes?
Yes.
And what they did, and and then the funny thing is that after World War II, a lot of the books that were written that you see in elementary school, they actually glorify Christopher Columbus, and even for instance, our name, District of Columbia, is after his name. So it's really ridiculous. I mean, the whole country, the way it celebrates it.
So there's no holiday that celebrates Native Americans?
No, some states in the West, like Washington State and I think Oregon, they started turning that. They actually banned, they converted the Columbus Day celebrations into Native American Day. Yeah. And I think a few states are doing that.
Well, we need to federalize
the rest
that.
Of America, we're sort of blind, and we still glorify Christopher Columbus. And
well, we need to get a federal, wipe him off the federal holiday schedule.
Absolutely.
And put federalized Native American, celebration day.
Yes, because you see, when we say that Christopher Columbus came here and did all these things, we're teaching our kids that to colonize other people and to maim and to rape them is okay. That's not right. Because here's a guy we're honoring. Yeah. In fact, he's also, I think, in the Pledge of the Allegiance. I'm not sure, but I think he might be in that too.
Pledge of the I don't think so.
Okay, I hope not.
I have not said it for a long time because,
I know somebody was telling me that, and I'm like, oh, well, I need to check on that,
it's interesting. I think I might have a little book that, that I've collected, how the kids have to do a biography of somebody. I think I might have one on Columbus, a child, like an elementary school level book. I'll have to check that out, see what they say.
Yeah.
No, but the postal workers love it because they get off. And
exactly.
And students. But
I know, but we could instead of celebrating Christopher Columbus, we can celebrate the native people.
Absolutely. God.
Yeah.
And also what we did against them. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And maybe this would be a good day to sort of give some sort of acknowledgement and retribution And also maybe it is a good day to actually ask them for forgiveness.
Yes.
And bring some healing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this is bad karma for the U.S. to actually do this and go on this way.
Yeah. Same thing with slavery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He, by the way, he also in the Western Hemisphere, I mean, there was slavery in the Eastern Hemisphere with the Arabs and so on, even in India and all.
Oh, okay.
But he was the chief architect of slavery from Americas to the Europe. Wow. And because when he returned back on his first voyage, he took, I'm told, about 500 to 1,000 Tainos.
Oh, gosh.
As slaves.
Oh, it makes me sick in my stomach.
And then if you look at the things he did from his notes, by the way, from his diaries and journals, you see that he became like the chief architect of exploitation, which set the trend for the next 500 years for Europeans to do that around the world.
And so that's probably why they colonized parts of Africa, colonized
exactly.
India.
Yeah, because now it became a sense of competition, because look what happened. Christopher Columbus goes to America, comes back with ships full of gold, and they're like, and at that time, by the way, if you look at the history, I've been studying European history quite a bit, Spain was actually almost on the verge of bankruptcy.
Yes. Well, it wasn't the Spanish Armada set them back a little bit.
Exactly. And so when Christopher Columbus came back with all that gold, they're like, oh my God, this is great. And so they started sending more gold and more ships with more armies to collect that. And that's what saved them. That's what saved the monarchy. And so then now the other Europeans, like the Portuguese and the French and the Italians, are going, wait, they're doing that, we are missing out. So then it became a whole scramble to do the same thing around the world, which they did very well. India stole so much from, Britain stole so much from India and all the wealth. I mean, you say the largest crown, largest jewel on the Queen's crown is this diamond from India.
Well, take it back. That's horrible. I mean, there should be some retribution. Has there ever been talk of that between the two countries?
No, but some people are talking about it, but people, we Indians, we tend to be more so laid back about things, and so we don't talk
peace
so much
lovers.
But hey, I'm an American, and one of the things I look at the cultures of the Native Americans, and I look at just humanity. We need to actually recognize when someone does evil.
Yeah.
And say, hey, this person did evil. Why are we celebrating? What message are we giving to our kids? That colonization is okay. Raping young girls is okay. Taking territories from other people is okay. And we can celebrate that person. I mean, today, if I say, let's start up a movement for celebrating Hitler, everybody would be upset.
Of course.
But why are we doing the same thing with Christopher Columbus?
Well, that's going to change.
I hope so.
I'm going to do something about this.
I hope so.
Yeah, we also need to change our idea of what is an advanced society. It's not all technology driven, okay? I mean, there's something so advanced about the Native American culture from a spiritual standpoint. And the Indian culture and other cultures.
Yeah. In my research, I found that ancient traditions like the Mayans, the Hopis, the Lakotas. I mean, these are just a couple of examples. The Aborigines, who we think are really primitive, and some of the Asian cultures that were ancient, they had a way of living. There was, according to Dharma, meaning that, that they accepted everyone as one.
Yeah.
The shamanic people, they all looked at the universe as one. But technologies and advancements that we pursued in Europe, which is what we inherited today, actually divorced us from that understanding. And so we have become more self-centered and individualistic, and we totally are missing the boat, because what happens here is the harm that we create comes back to us anyway.
Well, why can we still have a sense of individualism, but still live as one?
Absolutely. I mean, one does not negate the other, or you cannot. It doesn't mean that because you have a sense of individualism that the oneness disappears. No, you in fact appreciate the oneness more as an individual, and you appreciate your own individuality because you understand the oneness.
Yeah, even though separation is an illusion, just like scarcity is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
What was I going
so
to say?
you become, if you understand the oneness that exists, you as a person become a wonderful human being. Not only that, there is a sense of love, because when you look at the other person, you look at the other person with love. You look, and if you can do that, then you then look at yourself with love.
Yeah, exactly. And that has to come first.
Exactly.
So what about competition? Football games, capitalistic, competition between companies. I mean, how does that fit into the whole?
So competition is necessary for advancement, but as long as it is within a defined format.
Ethical format.
Ethical format, yeah. Because see, when you compete to do, like for instance, if I'm competing with you for a job, we can both compete by doing the best we can and then let them decide. But if I'm going to compete with you and I'm going to bribe the guy, then that's wrong.
Of course.
Because that's not fair.
And what about,
go ahead.
What about one company selling more widgets than the other company who also sells those widgets, and that puts the other company out of business? I mean, you're just selling, widgets ethically, but what does that do to the one?
Okay, so look at it differently. Let's say you are selling, let's do it as a person, like you are selling those widgets and you are selling better, you're selling more widgets than I am. Okay, so there's something missing there. Okay, if I'm selling, is my product better or your product better? Is your service better or my service better? So if you are selling more, then I need to do better so that I can compete with you. Now this helps me create better products, okay, or provide better service. And this is really necessary.
Okay.
However, if you keep doing better and better and better and I go out of business, that's because I'm not doing something right.
Okay. That makes sense.
Then I need to get another job or do something else.
Right.
Because I'm not doing it right.
Okay.
And the other way, I hardly watch television, but just recently I watched Elon Musk, I think.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, Elon Musk or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Tesla guy.
The Tesla guy. So one thing that I really appreciated about him, I don't care what people say about it, but he put all of the technology out. He made his sort of like whatever knowledge he had, he made it available publicly, so that he did not copyright it. Okay, that's one. And one of the things that he was interviewed, he said, what if they use the same knowledge and come up with better cars than you do? He said, great. That means humanity is better because somebody has come up with a better car than he did. And this is the right way of doing it. And at the end of the day, when we look at our individual karmas, whether it's a company karma or whether it's a nation karma, like the US karma right now, at the end of the day, we need to be ethical. So that if I'm doing something right, then that goodness comes back.
That's right. Integrity is one of the foundations for happiness, for personal happiness.
And by the way, we're all one. Why are you doing harm to the other? Because the other is me.
Yeah.
It's the left and the right arm, your left arm and attacking the right arm.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Columbus with the medium said that it was his spiritual contract to do this so that we would learn what basically not to do, not to harm each other. But it doesn't seem like we have learned that from Chris in America by celebrating him. Have we really learned?
Correct. And that's my fundamental question here. Him coming to America, that was meant to be. I take that. Okay. And maybe the harm that he did, that was his spiritual contract. I can understand that. What I don't understand today in 2018, we as an advanced nation are celebrating something that is criminal. We're celebrating a criminal.
And, but, you know,
And
I think it's a matter that people just aren't aware of all this. I mean,
right.
the awareness had been creeping in. You know, I didn't know anything about this history until relatively recently. So,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly. But we need to be made more aware of it, because the books that every kid studies in America is that Christopher Columbus was this great person who discovered America. He did not discover America. He invaded America.
Yeah.
And on top of it,
And
he
not
never
even
came to
America,
North.
really.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so why are we even recognizing him when his own people are not recognizing him? They do not acknowledge him because of the crimes he committed.
Yeah.
It's like we're celebrating Hitler. You know, I mean,
No.
it's as ridiculous as that. So
Well,
we need to change the books.
Yeah, let's start a petition. I'll see what I can do to start a big petition. Send it to our leaders, so-called leaders,
Congress, yeah,
Congress, whatever, and make a move to federalize Native American Day. So we can
and replace Christopher Columbus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I'd be happy to join in that.
Yeah, we should have a federal forgiveness day too. So that we can ask for forgiveness not only from Native Americans, but from African Americans too. I mean, from the slaves that were taken from Africa.
Yeah.
So
that would be a good day.
Yeah,
good
that
day
would be just not only that, it could be a day to really soul search and try to forgive those in your life that you have resentments against.
Correct. I mean, we have February 14th. We have so many other days. Why don't we have a forgiveness day?
Yeah, there are 365 days. Come on, people. Let's do that. Forgiveness Day and a Native American.
That's correct.
Day, because
sounds great.
We should learn a lot more from the Native Americans than we are. I mean, the spiritual wisdom. Now, what is that or the people who were able to meditate and travel to a subatomic level, and also to travel to infinite levels from small to big, in other words?
Yeah, I don't know, but I know in India there are people who do stuff like that, even till today.
Cool. Oh my God, watch out, the proton's going to hit me.
Exactly. No, I've met amazing beings who kind of do that. But you see, the thing is, they don't want to advertise about it, because then people will abuse them or misuse that power.
Yeah.
So it is a spiritual practice that people do. Yeah. I can't do it, but
we can.
But at the end of the day, what's the point of all that? You know.
I know.
Good experience, but
yeah, just rack it up. Frequent flyer miles probably.
Exactly.
On a subatomic
for free, right?
Yeah, right. Anything else you want to share before we close?
No, I just today's topic is about Christopher Columbus, and for me, it's like we need to wake up and recognize and acknowledge that he is not a person who discovered America. Yeah. He's not a person that is someone that we should celebrate, because it's sending the wrong message to our generation, future generations. And we need to acknowledge the pain and harm that was created to
for 500 years.
Yeah.
But, it's horrible. All right, we will do that. And I will put your information, your email, and your website here, right here. You. And thank you so much. This was amazing.
You're very welcome.
You want to say anything else about the things you have to offer?
Yeah, so
astrology.
Right. I do spiritual guidance using Indian astrology as a way to kind of guide you through this lifetime. And so I have a fee for that, which is about $200. You can get to me by email.
Change your life, really. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, it gives you, if nothing else, it validates where you are, and it also gives you a great sense of peace and understanding of how you're moving, just the way your GPS does with you when you're driving. Yeah. And then it helps you not to get lost, which happens a lot. But yeah. So and you can also visit my website, and there's other stuff on it that I do. So
yeah, I'll put all that up there. You guys explore it now. Stop what you're doing. Oh, subscribe to my channel, and then explore his website, and I'll put his email address too. All right. Thank you, Swami Ji.
There you go.
Swami Ji dog. I love you.
Love you too. Take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too.